Good evening. Welcome to Outlaw Bookseller with Stephen E. Andrews. And as you can see, things are getting pretty trippy around here. It's been a very hot September day, and now we're mellowing out. I've just watched the latest episode of Below Deck Mediterranean Season 6 on Amazon. There's a guilty secret for you. And this clip is brought to you by San Miguel. It's not really, not giving me any money. It's just what I'm drinking. That's in preparation for a meet with some of the chaps tomorrow. So I've just started marketing and promoting this channel on YouTube with some friends, and thank to you guys who subscribed. I think there's about 11 of you now. Well done. And I thought, what shall I talk about this evening? Well, it's time, I think, because of the mellow mood, to look at one of our classic underground writers, somebody I've mentioned already, but an amazing career. Um, and that's Colin Wilson. And I want to talk specifically about Colin Wilson's book, Ritual in the Dark, which is one of my favourite novels. And bizarrely again, it's a Grafton, as you'd surprise. As you can see, probably the lighting isn't help. It's getting dark, and we've got the nebula spinning away there. But this is so faded now. His name's faded off the spine because I bought this, I think, in 1985, and it's been pretty much out of print in the UK ever since, which is absolutely shameful. This is his first novel, and he was working on this, sleeping on Hampstead Heath, writing it in the British Library in the daytime, when he suddenly, at Christmas, had the idea for his best-selling book, The Outsider. This would have been about 1955, 1956. And of course, Wilson was associated with the angry young men anti-movement, which wasn't really a movement at all. And he was catapulted to fame because, of course, a working class lad from Leicester couldn't really um, be allowed to write a book about existentialist philosophy and the outsider figure in literature. So that sort of brought him instant fame, and the backlash came soon after, and everybody started slagging him off. But I've read, I think I said in another video, 70 books by him. A lot of them are out of my hands now. What I really love the most about his work are the novels, which I think are bags of ideas, very underrated, and probably that's why they're out of print in the UK, because the novel of ideas isn't always appreciated in Britain. That's the thing. And maybe the stars are getting too much. What do we think? Who could say? Let's just sort of slow things down a little bit. There we go. Maybe even a bit more. Maybe not too much. And you can get this from a wonderful publisher in the USA called Valancourt. You'd have to get it online. And Valancourt, a real Anglophile publisher, they do lots of great underrated and forgotten British writers. And it's a real labour of love. The trade paperbacks, they're not always that attractive, but at least they've got them in print. So Ritual in the Dark is the first of a trilogy about a character called Gerard Sohm, who is a thinly disguised Wilson himself. There's Colin there on the cover of the second volume in the trilogy. I really don't think this lighting is working out, so if it doesn't, I do apologise. But we're still sort of pushing the boundaries of the production quality here, he said laughingly. This is the second novel in the trilogy, which is called, in this edition, Sex Diary of a Metaphysician. It's also known as The Sex Diary of Gerard Sohm. In the Valancourt edition, it's called Man Without a Shadow, which is a much better title, and it contains a Aleister Crowley type figure called Corrado Cunningham. I'll do a Crowley books thing at some point because it's kind of inevitable, you've got to do it. And the third in the trilogy, and the weakest in my view, is God and the Labyrinth, which I think has some, I'd say some fantasy or science fiction elements. It's good, but it's not as good as the first two. And again, Valancourt, I think, do all three of these in the States. So just to return to Ritual in the Dark, Ritual in the Dark is packaged here, as you can tell, like a rather sleazy crime novel. And it does have a crime theme in the background. And Colin Wilson was very interested in crime. He wrote lots of true crime books. And this one was probably his first foray into crime as a concept. Just pause for a quick beer. Ah, lovely, marvellous. And the thing is, the crime stuff, as I say, is in the background here. Really, this is a study of three different types of outsiders. The young Gerard Sohm, who is a young existentialist, angry young man living in cruddy flats and bedsits in London late 50s. He's got a very small private income, very handy sort of thing that people in novels always used to have. And he allows him just to hang around museums all day and buy second-hand books from Charing Cross Road. It's wonderful stuff. So I guess it's kind of an English Beat Generation novel, really. And Jared comes across a rich figure called Austin Nunn, and through him meets a painter called Oliver Glasp, who's a rather sort of Van Gogh type figure. And those are the three outsiders. And it's full of questions about life, the universe, and everything. It's a great big rollicking read, and I would compare it to the kind of things that Dostoevsky, Hamsun, Hermann Hesse did. And it's just a few months in the life of Gerard Storm, and it's a book that I go back to time and time again. It's compulsively readable. Some people would say it's of its time or sexist. There's quite a bit about sex in there. You know, I think that's a bit unrealistic. Young men are naturally interested in sex. That's the way they're wired, same as young women are. It's the same thing. And so that's covered in there. And in the background, while these three outsiders are having their interactions in Bohemian London, there are a string of Jack the Ripper type sex murders going on in the background. And it all culminates, well, I won't tell you how it all culminates, but it's a really wonderful novel. And I really put it up there, as I say, with the greats like Dostoevsky, Hamsun, and those sort of figures, Hesse as well, that sort of journey through life you get in the Bildungsroman of Hesse. And it's a really great book. So give it a try if you can find it. Get it from Valancourt. I'll stick a link to Valancourt's website in the description to the clip. So that's one of my favourite novels. It's very, very much what is the meaning of life? Where are we going? Great existentialist text. I can't say enough good about it. I probably should have come up with some more eloquent, but I've started to have a drink. That's it, really. So while I'm on the subject, I'll mention one more Colin Wilson book that I bought at the same sort of time. Hope you're enjoying all this nebula stuff in the background. It's crazy, isn't it? And this is another early novel by Colin Wilson, The World of Violence. Well, when a novel has a title like that, you can't really go wrong. And this is about crime as well. And this is a kind of look at the Nietzschean impulse that afflicted people like Leopold and Loeb, the two murderers who decided that because they were geniuses and better than everybody else, they would pull off the perfect crime because they failed miserably. And this is a similar sort of thing. It's about a young prodigy who loves mathematics, and he has a elder uncle, I think it is, who's a very strange guy who teaches him about maths. And it sort of goes from there. And it shows how intellectual obsessions can soon turn dangerous. Again, I'm pretty sure Valancourt did it. Again, it's long out of print in the UK for a very long time. If you ever see these secondhand, pick them up or get them from Valancourt. I really recommend them. So that's what I would say. If you're looking at Colin Wilson as a novelist for the first time, try and get the Storm trilogy. So as I say, after Ritual in the Dark, it's Man Without a Shadow, aka Sex Diary of a Metaphysician. That's Colin on the cover there, looking all intense. And it's also gone under the title Sex Diary of an Existentialist as well. So I've never seen a copy with that title on it though. Man Without a Shadow is the most common one. And as I say, it ends with God of the Labyrinth, which, as I say, has some time slip and historical fiction elements to it. Really, really good stuff. And if you're a seeker after the meaning of things, what does it all mean, we ask ourselves, then, you know, Colin Wilson is very much somebody to read. He created something called the neo-existentialism. I thoroughly enjoyed his work. He is looked down on by a lot of literary and genre figures as being, you know, overly optimistic and a bit right-wing and what have you. But I always found him an incredibly stimulating writer. I was lucky to meet him once at an event in Swansea, and he signed some books for me. I'll talk about him again in the future. So don't write him off. Do read him. And thanks to everybody who subscribed today. And this is Outlaw Bookseller signing off, coming to the end of this particular space ritual.